Well, aloha, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all those around the world that are tuning in to this, my favorite podcast. It's my favorite because, well, it's mine. So welcome to the Healing Source. My name is Paul Fletcher, and I'm very happy to be back on air. Took a 2 week hiatus. I was actually in a special retreat with my teacher, Dr. and Master Sha. If you've been following my podcast, you will have heard his name virtually every time I do one of the podcasts. And so I wanted to let you know that I wasn't sick or anything like that. I simply went to a 10-day event and it happened to cross Wednesdays 2 times. So I am back and we are now going to dig in a little bit further into chapter 12, which is season 12, in which we have moved indirectly away from all the direct teachings of the Tao and more into the understanding of our quantumly entangled universe and how we can be human beings and understand the nature of quantum entanglement and positive negative information and vibration. In all of the previous sessions, I've shared with you the wisdom that Dr. and Master Sha has brought forth, often referred to as Tao wisdom, which is not Taoism. That, of course, is a religion. When people ask me about it, because they hear the word Tao, I literally say, I pretty much know nothing, pretty much the same as you, because I've never studied it. But I do study and know inside out the nature of Tao wisdom. Tao means the source. Now, one of Dr. and Master Sha's students that started around the same time I did, about 15 years ago, is Dr. Rulin Shu. Dr. Rulin was a quantum physicist, graduated from one of the most esteemed universities in China, and then proceeded to get the same degree at a higher level in quantum physics in UC Berkeley. And she currently is traveling around the world and is expressing her understanding of quantum entanglement in combination with Tao healing and Tao wisdom. So I do not profess to be near as educated as she is. I truly have no way to express the intelligence of this universe the way she does with her quantum physics background. I am, however, a student of Tao wisdom. And for the last 15 years, I have learned to apply that comprehension and understanding in this universe that you and I walk through. Within the last 4 or 5 years, Master Sha and Dr. Lin have created some books and have had many speeches and communications, a lot of them amongst the internal student group so that we could have higher comprehension. And as I am learning these, in my own head, I start to make connections and start to draw not conclusions as much as make a solid connection. And so what I want to do today is share with you some of that comprehension specifically in related to enlightenment. First, I'm going to share with you what my understanding of enlightenment is based on the sharing of Dr. and Master Sha. And he is an enlightened being. And then I will share with you quantum entanglement in a very general version, and then share with you the intermixing of the two. Because a lot of people don't really grasp how what either of them really is, quantum entanglement nor enlightenment. And yet they do work in harmony, and you will be clear on that by the time this podcast is complete. So what then is enlightenment? Well, the first enlightenment retreat I attended with Dr. Master Sha was 15 years ago. And that was my question. Who is this guy and why does he think he can explain enlightenment since no one else has accomplished that? And basically, over the course of these 15 years, I've become quite clear on what it is and what it is not. And what it is not is a finish line. It is never, ever finished. It is always an ongoing process of further and further awakening clarity and alignment to the one original source creator. That is what enlightenment is not. It is not ever finished. Now, according to the wisdoms that have been shared, there are several different types of enlightenments. The first and easiest one to attain is called soul enlightenment, and that is when your soul has had enough good lifetimes of good service, and I state it as when you've reached 51% of service to others more than service to self. So that kind of puts it in perspective. That means we move away from me, and we start realizing that we are one with all things. And as we start uplifting, supporting, caring for, and being more selfless on a consistent basis, lifetime after lifetime, the side effect is our soul gathers what's called virtue or good karma. That virtue is much like your personal checking account here on earth. The more virtue you have in your personal checking account here on earth, the more positive experiences you have in your health, your relationships, your finances, everything will start to be better, the more good karma or virtue that you have. And again, the virtue is obtained through service to others, not self. This is because it's a universal law, and this universal law was revealed to Dr. Master Sha 15 or so years ago. And the basic foundation, and you can find it in his older books, the foundation of it is offer unconditional universal service to everyone and receive unconditional positive results. Offer some universal service to others and get some positive results. Offer very little universal service to others and get very little positive benefits. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. So the overall understanding is that enlightenment is a side effect of moving away from selfishness and moving towards oneness. And since we are all from the same original source soul, then by serving others, we are serving ourselves. And as long as we serve others without the intention of serving ourselves, which is, of course, selfish, then we gather virtue. The consistency of that creates soul enlightenment. The next level of enlightenment is a heart enlightenment. And a heart enlightenment is one where our heart is pure and uncluttered with any form of animosity, anger, greed, frustration, worry, concern. We are fully in love with our source and with all things. We take absolutely nothing personally. We are basically a pure vessel of love. That would be a heart enlightenment. The next level is mind enlightenment. And mind enlightenment has been stated by my teacher and others to be one of the most difficult levels of enlightenment to achieve because it requires complete thoughtlessness, no thought whatsoever at all, just no thought. You witness something, it's just a witnessing. There is no judgment, there is no criticalness, there's not even an observation that has a follow through of any labeling or way to understand it. There is no comprehension or understanding with mind enlightenment because there is simply a witnessing, as if you were the source witnessing something. Then the final layer of enlightenment, which there are countless layers of it, is body enlightenment. And that is when we are no longer restricted by this physical vessel. That is when we literally are light. We are an interwoven aspect of the source that is not limited by time, it's not limited by space. Another way of stating that is immortal. And so these are the four depths or layers of enlightenment as has been taught to me over many years and as I've come to understand it. It doesn't mean that's the it and the all in terms of the understanding, but it tends to be representative of a pretty good understanding, and that's a bucket load more than I had 15 years ago when I started on this journey. What then is quantum entanglement? Well, it's a series of words that have been coined with string theory and modern physics. And in essence, it says that everyone and everything is entangled by energetic lines. This has been validated and proven by the slit theory, which I've spoken of before. And it's much like the low key affects the low C affects the high C, except we are all the vibration of C, so to speak, in this quantum universe of this third dimension. And so what I do here, this communication with you, even though there's a few people watching, actually has a ripple effect across Mother Earth and across all universes that are third dimensional, possibly in other dimensions, but I can speak to that at least based on the quantum entangled theories that are present and prevalent here on Earth. And but we don't see that wave, we don't see that effect. But it has again been validated by science, by their scientific instruments, that on literally on opposite sides of the universe, because there is no just time and space in quantum physics and in string theory, one pluck on this side of the universe will affect the other side. Okay, so this is a nutshell overview of quantum entanglement. So now let's blend these two, quantum entanglement and enlightenment, and how is there any source of interconnection to them? Well, the Tao wisdom shares that every thought, every word, and every action that we have plucks that string, that C note, if you will. So if it's a positive thought, a positive word, or a positive action, it plucks that C note that reverberates across all universes, quantumly entangling our positive thought, word, or action with others and affecting others. I have a positive thought about the person across the street. I have a positive thought about my child. I have a positive thought about Mother Earth. I have a positive thought about my finances. Whatever positive word or action affects everybody in the same way. Now, the degree of effect that we'll have on them could be minimal or significant, depending on how awakened and opened that individual is. The awakening and opening of any individual is exclusive and specific to their many lifetimes of efforts, the virtue that they gather, because the more service we offer, the more virtue that we gather, the more sloughing off of any negativity around our soul's vibration, and accordingly, the higher and higher connection to our source and our creator. So the higher connection to our source and creator via realizing our connection to all things, then we have a greater propensity to feel other people's positivity and negativity. But basically, we have more attunement to all things that are in our third dimensional experience and beyond. Okay, so it's quite interesting, the nature of quantum entanglement, because we affect all creation and we are affected by all creation. This is the nature of quantum entanglement. So now let's bring it full circle into the understanding of enlightenment as it has been explained. And how do we get there? Well, we already talked about the first stage, which is moving away from service to self towards service to others. And in this process of accomplishing that, we tend to go through realizing that we can't really solve problems by ourselves on our own. This is the first part of the awakening process. We move from pain after pain, after struggle, after struggle, after challenge, to the point where we just give up and say, God, please help me, or some variation of that. You might believe in Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or whomever. And so you're probably talking to one of those beings of love and light, or the source, because you were so busy being selfish that you forgot that you didn't create yourself. And so in the awakening that you didn't create yourself, in the awakening that you have become one, or that you are and have always been one with Source, you awaken yourself to the opportunities to clear the slough off your body and start moving towards that enlightenment. Quantum entanglement in connectivity to this comprehension is as you awaken to this truth that you are not the person that created yourself, that you are not alone, that it is okay and probably quite beneficial to ask for some support and assistance, then you start to realize that doing all things good, having all good thoughts, having all good word and actions, minimizing the complaining, minimizing the imbalanced emotions, minimizing the words and the actions that that once a person sees those actions, once it hears an anger or an unpleasant thing, it creates a negative entanglement between you and that person. And that's very much like pulling you down. It's, it takes you away from any possibility of enlightenment, which for many people listening to this might not be even on their radar. They might give a shoot about it, right? They may not even care or really grasp the value of it. But in essence, it is all associated with less and less suffering. So the more we become conscious and aware that we are not by ourselves, that by serving others, we are serving ourselves, then the resistance in our present day life, every aspect of it, becomes less. The possibility of healing becomes more. The possibility of financial blessings becomes more. The possibility of healthy relationships becomes more. Everything that we are currently suffering through can be resolved by positive thoughts, words, and actions, can be resolved by service to others in whatever form that may be. Now, early on in my neophyte beginning experiences, I trained with an individual who spoke of service, but I didn't understand it, and there wasn't a high enough level teaching to explain that service is not limited to just physical action. You know, we have busy lives, we have to take care of wives, kids, partners, and family members, and animals, and we have stuff, right? So, but thoughts have the exact same effect as an action. It has a negative effect if you have a negative thought. It has a positive effect if we have a positive thought. So why wouldn't you pause your so busy world for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and trace for somebody else one of the Tao calligraphies, trace for humanity, trace for, or chant for Mother Earth, sing love, peace, harmony, have positive thoughts about the children in Africa that are starving and don't have fresh water. You know, visualize them having fresh water. Send positive energy to those that don't have access to school. You can go a million different directions with positive thoughts. You don't have to leave your room. The point is, we need to get away from constantly creating a negatively entangled environment. And it starts by realizing we did not create ourselves, which then moves us towards layers and layers of awakening, which are also layers and layers of enlightenment. Eventually, either in this or a future lifetime, we will have generated enough positive movement towards service to others versus self that our energy centers and our physicalness of this third dimensional experience will become less predominant. You know, oftentimes we wake up and we feel very thick and we're heavy with depression, we're heavy with anger, we're heavy with heaviness. That's because you think you're alone. Okay? You have to give it up. You didn't create yourself. And so as we wake to this, our existing chakras, which are basically conduits and channel in which life force, frequency and vibration animates us, heaven animates us, earth animates us, everything animates us because we were created by a source. And when we can make better thoughts, words, and actions, we are not quantumly entangled with anything negative today. If we do more of that, we're not quantumly entangled with anything negative tomorrow. And when something enters our environment, like a financial suffering, like a major emotional or physical challenge, like a relationship challenge, because they will enter your life no matter how positive you are, because the nature of enlightenment is the weaning off, the removal of all of the unpleasant vibration that we have put on our own vibration by our thoughts, by our words, by our actions. So we have to eliminate that, and we have to be conscientious of our thoughts, words, and actions. These literally change the quantumly entangled waves. When we ask forgiveness for the way we have acted, for the words we have said, for the thoughts we have had, with all the souls that have ever been impacted, it's like bringing out a universal eraser and erasing the line that made that entanglement with that person that heard that irritation, with the person that saw that unpleasant reaction, with the person that felt a depression as a result of your outburst, with the person that felt grief or sadness as a result of you making a mistake, maybe it's a previous lifetime, and a life was lost. And when those things occur, individuals are entangled with you negatively. That's the root of our suffering. It's quite simple. The math is not challengeable. Our job in this pathway of awakening and removing these challenges is to stop the constant getting beating up by realizing we're not alone, ask for help, use the tools and techniques that the Tao wisdom has brought to us, which includes Tao healing hands, receiving blessings from teachers like myself, utilizing the Tao Source calligraphies, which in essence are portals where uh, the biggest magic erasers are, right? We want to erase these entanglements. Just trace the calligraphies. It's the fastest way to erase the negative entanglements. It's also the fastest way to build up our positive virtue. It's much faster than even doing good things. We're blessed that at this time on earth, Master Sha has brought these kinds of empowerments to humanity. It might take another 15, 20 years before enough people wake up where they realize the value of what he has brought. That's okay. In the meantime, this will go on to YouTube and other places and Facebook, and hopefully with time, people will come across this and go, aha, that makes sense. Let me go ahead and erase all these negative entanglements. Let me start moving towards service to others, and then I can be a happier and healthier person. So to place this in perspective in its entirety, entanglement happens both directions, positive and negative. Another way of saying that is karma happens both ways. It's just a different set of words depending on how it's best received by your ears. It doesn't really matter. If you don't believe in source and creator, but you believe in entanglement, great. See what happens when you start doing good things. You might be very analytical, scientific, and you don't believe a dang thing that I just said. But scientists always try to prove things out, don't they? So go do a bunch of negative things, see that it helps you. Go do a bunch of positive things, have good positive thoughts, words, and actions. See how that affects you. And when you move into a day and negative things happens, see if you can detach from that moment and just acknowledge it instead of expanding it, which is what a lot of us do. Something negative happens, we vacillate on it, carry it over hour after hour, day after day, expand it, extrapolate on it, tell all our friends about it, write on Facebook about it. We expand the negativity. How's that going to serve your future, right? But we do it. So if you are scientific and you want to challenge this wisdom, try. You're going to be validated in that negative begets negative and positive begets positive. And when you're challenged in that particular day with a negative, you just bring positive to the table and you keep doing that. And pretty soon you're going to have a lot more positive entanglements. Okay. So this is the nature of our exploration of enlightenment with our quantumly entangled universe. The ability to get to enlightenment is a ongoing, effort. We, in this particular society, in this particular time frame, it is in my observation and opinion, and tends to be matched by quite a few people, is we are in one of the most difficult times. Now, certainly, when you go back to the days of knights and dragons and that kind of stuff, that would be pretty horrific too, right? When your average age is like 30 years old because you don't live that long in some of those difficult times. Those certainly are difficult. But we're living in an age of mental warfare where everything is about controlling this guy. And for you and me, those that are on the enlightenment journey, the awakened journey, the solution is the heart. The solution is love. The solution is moving away from any source of mind-controlled solution, any source of mind-based decision without the heart involved. Because the mind is the processor. It is not intended to be the final decision maker. That's what got you into the problems that you currently have. You allowed your mind and yourself to be the boss versus being in alignment with a much higher source. You have soul, you have a heavens team, you have guides, angels, and saints. And you've probably heard that before, but Have you done things to start communicating with him? Have you cleared some of your spiritual channels? Have you done practices? Have you traced and chanted for others, which naturally opens your spiritual channels, which then lets you to hear the intuitional message that says, you should try this instead. You should go that way instead. You might think about helping that person. You have a few dollars in your account, help them out. This is what the soul world will tell you because they know how to assist you out of your pain, your suffering, and your struggles. But we tend to rely on ourselves. That's the mind. It is not your best friend. It needs to be under your control, not your controller. And so when we move through this process of enlightenment, which in essence is usurping the mind's power and putting the heart power above that by the processes that have been shared, then we can quantumly disentangle all of the mess that we have made, not only in this life, but in others. But we can, from today forward, be much more conscientious of our thoughts, our words, our actions. And one of the very important things to do is to forgive yourself when it's too late. Because from personal experience, I have had a negative thought, still do. I have spoken negative words, much less, but still do. And the actions are dramatically less. But it's a constancy of catching it even after it has left your mind, left your mouth, okay? Might be 1 minute later, might be 10 minutes later. Catch it. Say, please forgive me. To who? Please forgive me, my source. Please forgive me to the soul, that person that I had that negative thought about. Please forgive me to that person that I spoke negatively to. I was in Toronto at the desk to pay for the hotel bill. There was 4 of us. We each had to pay our quarter share. And the person said, oh, we can't do that. You have to wait till you're done. Now, prior to that, when we first checked in a few days earlier, the woman at that time said, yes, you can do that. See, I had an attachment to having my friend's credit card released because he placed his credit card on $3,000 to hold the room. I needed to have us 4 pay, so his credit card was freed up. So I had in this attachment based on what I was told and based on not disappointing my friend and having his card held up. This man said, no, we can't do that. So I snapped. I said, well, you need to, because that's what we were told. And we're all here and this needs to happen. Wasn't very nice, was I? My words were not filled with love, compassion. And so as he kind of did what I asked, and then when he was about halfway through it, I said, I need to apologize. Now, and I did. The point is, if that person's in front of you, then apologize right there, because they need to hear that. They need to know that I made a mistake, that was inappropriate, and I'm sorry. And this is what I was feeling, and this is what I was needing, and I could have said it better, and this is what I would like to say. Can you forgive me for the way I said that? If you have an opportunity in the moment, brilliant. That changes that entanglement, moves you closer to the enlightened path, and stops more experiences and negative challenges along the way. But the beautiful thing about Tao wisdom is that you can do that exact same thing at the level of soul. I have taught this in one of my series earlier, soul communication. You just call their soul. You're the soul of, my friend. You're the soul of my ex-wife. You're the soul of this person across the street that I had the negative thought about. I deeply apologize. That was just not okay. Very typically, if we have a negative thought about somebody, it's because we have our own low self-esteem issues, and by putting them down, that pushes us up. See, so we have all of these negative stuff on our vibration. It is our responsibility as both co-creators and as a soul to remove these restrictions, these challenges that basically over time we have placed there, and to start being consistent with all positive thoughts, words, and actions. Okay, so I hope that helps you to have a much better understanding of the nature of enlightenment within our quantumly entangled universe. I look forward to coming back next week as we move into a new part of quantum entanglement. And please, if you enjoyed this, share this with others. I'm pretty sure they can benefit from the wisdom that has been shared. Until next week, have an awesome day, everybody. Bye bye.